Hello, everyone. I'm Tammy McBride. Welcome to the Virtual STEM Showcase Professional Connection Highlight. We are taking the opportunity to interview people from the educational and professional sectors around our region that directly connect to STEM and give you a few ideas for your projects. Today, I have David Hulse, Site Manager from Alcoa Wenatchee LLC Aluminum Smelter, and is responsible for all activities at the facility and holds a current drinking water and wastewater operations credential in the state of Washington. David has been with Alcoa for 30 years and has a bachelor's of science degree in chemistry. Hi, David. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Tammy. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, I would like to ask you a few questions about your job, if you don't mind.
That would be great. I'd love to answer them for you.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about Alcoa and what an aluminum smelter was, because I know it's not up and running anymore, and explain what you do now as it's no longer working.
Well, Alcoa is an abbreviation for the Aluminum Company of America. That was the original name of our company, and we went and changed it to Alcoa at some point. So we make aluminum, and our founder Charles Martin Hall invented the process in the late 1800s. He was able to make aluminum from alumina, which is aluminum oxide. And that was a really important discovery because prior to him doing that, the naturally occurring aluminum is super rare in its pure metal form. So aluminum was like more valuable than gold. And him doing that made aluminum accessible to everyone and made sure that you could use it in all different kinds of things. So it really opened up aluminum to everyone. So the process that he invented to take the oxygen off of the aluminum and make it into pure aluminum metal is something that's what we do here at Wenatchee. Alcoa is involved in a number of parts of the process, all the way from digging the ore out of the ground, purifying it, turning it into aluminum metal, to making things out of it. But the part that we do here at Wenatchee is to actually turn it into aluminum. The smelter at Wenatchee did this for over 60 years. We did it from 1952 to about 2016 almost. And we curtailed the plant in 2016 due to poor economic conditions, but we have had a small crew here. There are 12 of us that are maintaining the facility, and we have to ensure that the power and water systems on site are operational and that we maintain compliance with all of our permit conditions, because we still have a water discharge permit, even though the facility is not running.
Wow, wow, that's great. Awesome. Wonderful information. So, how does STEM relate to the tools you need and use for your job daily?
And obviously, as a scientist, I use a lot of STEM uh, skills every day, and it's something that I'm pretty passionate about. I think it's education that has led me to a fun and fulfilling career. I enjoy my job quite a bit.
Mhm.
Um, to answer your question in a more literal sense, I use science and math every day in terms of keeping the sewage plant operating properly. We have a small laboratory associated with that where we run tests on the water, and so those are chemistry and biology tests that we're running on the water to test the water quality. And then we get some numbers that come out of that. And the numbers are usually expressed in milligrams per liter, which is one unit. And then we have another unit that's called pounds per day, which accounts for total loading, we call it, how much weight of material is actually leaving the site. And that's our permit condition. So when I get my milligrams per liter, I have to do the calculations to turn that into pounds per day, because those are obviously two different units: metric system, standard system, and changing it into a time-based unit. So lots of simple math. I won't say any of the math is super complicated. Most of it is the kind of math that you learn in middle school and high school. A lot of four function, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and there are some fancier things thrown in there occasionally, but most of the math is pretty straightforward.
Awesome. Wonderful. So, how is wastewater treatment related to STEM?
Wastewater treatment uses a lot of STEM processes. So before you even have the system, you have to design it. So we get engineers to think about what the system requirements are. How much water do you have? What kind of treatments are you going to need to purify the water? And so they'll go and research all of that and design a system. Then you're going to construct it. You're going to have someone who can read a print and turn that into a real thing, put all the pieces together, make sure that it's done properly. And then you get around to operating the system, which is what I do out here at the plant as part of my job. I supervise the operation of that facility. And then you get into all the laboratory work, the science and the math involved with that. And you also have repair and maintenance that's going on there that is using engineering and math to solve problems related to keeping all the equipment running, to diagnose problems and repair them. So I think it's a challenge, and it's really fun to solve all those problems. It's fun to be faced with those problems and be able to figure out the answers to them. And I've always enjoyed that part of my job a great deal.
For sure. So, you kind of already touched a little bit about this, but what is an example of when you use more than one STEM skill during your daily job tasks?
Well, certainly, like I talked about, when we do an analysis, so we'll do a science experiment or a laboratory experiment to determine how much of something we have in the water, and there's a lot of math involved in those based on how much water went into it, because it's all concentration based. So if you tested 10 milliliters of water, it'd be different than if you tested 20 milliliters of water. You need to determine what your concentration is. And so there's a lot of basic math that's going on there. A lot of that is multiply by 20, divide by 5, that kind of thing,
Mhm.
just to get it into the right units. And then you're going to do some further calculations to make it match what your permit limits are. We also do some operational tests that we need to keep things in a certain range. So we use a lot of science there as well to determine what the concentration is in the material, and then decide what adjustments we have to make based on experience and the operation manuals that we have.
Mhm. Awesome. So, we know that there's only a few of you at the facility now, but how would STEM play into the job description for future applicants?
Well, we don't anticipate having any job openings in the near future here at our facility. That doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of opportunities available in the state.
Mhm.
As a licensed operator in the state, I am on mailing lists and I get job opportunities coming up all the time from all over the state. Water and wastewater treatment are a really hot commodity right now. It's really in demand. There are not enough people going into those types of jobs. And so these jobs are working for mostly, there are some private industry jobs like I have, but a lot of the jobs are in the public sector, working for cities and communities out there all over Washington. Any part of the state you could want to live in, you can probably get a job working as a water or wastewater treatment operator if you're patient enough to wait for that job to come up, because there are all the time I'm getting emails about different opportunities. And so I think it's a great field to go into, especially the government jobs have great benefits. They have good salary, health care benefits, good retirement package. All that stuff is there. And you don't have to worry about your job being eliminated because the facility closes, because municipal sewage plants and water treatment plants just don't close. They're there forever. So
Nice.
I think it's a great field to go into.
Okay, so my next question is, what kind of education is required for a career similar to yours then?
The cool thing about this is I think you have a lot of different options. As we said, I have a 4-year degree, a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry. That is probably on the high end of education for a lot of operators. You can get an operator job with a high school education. You can also get an operator job with a 2-year degree from a community college, and you can get a 4-year degree as well as you want. I think the difference between those, well, Dave, why would I go to college for 4 years when I could get a job straight out of high school? I think you can get a little bit better of a job a little faster if you go to college first and get a little bit more education before you go into the field. If you want to go in with just a high school degree, you're going to spend more time working your way up through the ranks. I think it's still possible to attain nearly the same position, but it may take you longer to get there. So that's kind of a personal decision for everyone, is how much do I want to invest in my career and how fast do I want to get there?
Yeah. So, is there any other information you would like to share with the students today to prepare them if they are wanting to go into a career similar to yours?
I think if you are interested in that field, or really any field, but I would recommend to anyone to get either a summer job or an internship at a facility that does the kind of thing that you're interested in, for two reasons. One is that it gives you some practical work experience. When I was in college, I did an internship at a pharmaceutical company, and I learned a lot of things about working in a chemistry lab. And I learned the type of work I like to do and the type of work I don't like to do. And I learned that I didn't want to work for a pharmaceutical company. So this was all good information to have. And the other part of it is that when you get out and you start talking to employers about the job that you're going to be applying for, we spent very little time talking about the 4 years that I spent in college when I was talking to employers. We spent most of the time talking about the 6 months that I spent doing an internship at the pharmaceutical company, because that was work experience that the employers had. It's the kind of thing that they do. They feel comfortable talking about your work experience. They don't always feel comfortable talking about your college experience. And it's very valuable to them. So I would recommend, if you think you like something, any kind of job, whether it be water treatment, whether it be something else, when you have the opportunity, when you have a summer off as you're going to school, try to get a job, anything in that field, even if it's mowing the lawn at the type of place you want to work, just to be able to get a foot in the door and try to learn what goes on there.
That's valuable information, Dave. Thank you. Well, that is all I have as far as questions. And I think that's all for today's episode. For all of you that are listening in, don't forget to submit individual or group projects for your chance to win a cash prize. All projects must be submitted by Friday, May 6th. Don't forget. Thank you, David, so much for joining me today and answering these questions for us. And thank you all for joining, and I hope you have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Tammy.
Thanks, Dave.